What's up guys, Anthony here. In today's video I'm going to be talking all about the Peak 2018 Death Race, or the Spartan 2018 Death Race, or the DR 2018, who the f knows. I'm going to be talking all about my 46 hours and 30 minutes in the race until up to where I was medically DNF'd because of a bunch of problems. I did beg to get let back in, but the medics say it was final, and I still wanted to keep going, which makes me proud, and I'm proud of where I got, and I do intend on going back next year, so hopefully I will get a skull next year. But I made it 46 hours, and I'll tell you guys all about those arduous 46 hours in this video. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Subscribe, like, and maybe even comment your opinion. And if you want to see even more awesome videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. So I'm going to start off with the beginning of the race. I started out preparing for the race, and I'm not going to talk that much about preparing, but we were told to bring our items on a mandatory gear list, and this is my mandatory gear list. There was a lot of shit on it, and I ended up taking my small GoRuck bag, which was fucking a mistake because there wasn't that much space, and for the beginning of the event I was a fucking mess, and I'll tell you guys about that a little later. So we had a mandatory gear list, and I'll read that off to you right now just because I was told to bring $100, a $5 bill, size 18's Adam dry fly, an axe, pruning shears, safety goggles, work gloves, water container, headlamp, sandbag, Dramamine, 148 pennies, 4 orange index cards, and 4 zip ties for those 4 orange index cards. Oh my god, my lungs hurt, and I actually got through that. And the rest of the stuff was just non-mandatory. So quickly before I go over the race, I'm going to talk about the non-mandatory gear list, and this was the gear that we were supposed to come up with on our own. Basically whatever we need to survive multiple days in the woods. Now I might go in depth to this list for another video, but for right now I'll tell you guys what were the best items, the things that I wouldn't think to bring but brought anyway, and it really helped me. So here they are. The Sea to Summit bags were awesome. They kept all my gear dry, as well as the insect repellent wipes. It was easier to carry that than bug spray. I had to manage space in my small bag, so having the wipes was just easy to put away. The small Ziploc bags also helped, as well as the emergency blanket. I didn't end up using it, but just having it was a great idea because it did get very cold, and I also brought an extra windbreaker, which really helped me when I was at the top of the mountain, especially in the middle of the night and freezing my ass off. The Chamois Butt'r, which is anti-chafe gel, is also awesome, and the Lifestraw helped me when I wasn't able to get any other water from anywhere else. And honestly, drinking water from a stream with the Lifestraw tastes like drinking tap water. It's really crazy. Another thing that really helped me was the orange Paracord, the S-hook, and the bending wire, because it helped me carry things in addition to carrying a sandbag and a ruck. I was given a penalty rock in the beginning of the event, and it was really hard to carry, and that kind of helped me carry it and give my arms a rest once in a while. So that was a great idea on my part. And one thing that I would definitely take next time around is knee pads and a little bit more duct tape for my body. I had anti-cut duct tape for my bags and stuff like that, but I didn't end up bringing any duct tape to put on my body itself. So what ended up happening was my knees and my arms were all destroyed, you know, I think 40 hours into the race, and it really hurt my chances afterwards, and it really screwed me over towards the end. I brought a lot of stuff with me, and my pack weighed roughly 31 pounds with water. My sandbag weighed about 38 pounds, 39 pounds. I wanted to stay on the safe side. We were told for if we were under a certain weight, we had to have a 35-pound sandbag, but I didn't know what's going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to break or bust or the weight was going to be different, so I ended up taking 38 pounds to be on the safe side. We started our event in a church. We were told to sign up, bring our stuff in, and put our bibs on. And immediately, as soon as we put our bibs on, we got to work with the axe, and we started chopping wood. I never chopped wood before, but I actually did pretty well for chopping wood. You know, I sucked at first, but I kind of got the swings into it, and I started to chop the wood a little better. But by the time I was doing good, and 2 hours, 3 hours later, it was time to move to the next activity. This next activity, what we had to do was we had to hold our axes out in front of us until the first 10 people dropped their axe. And I held it out, but I didn't really hold out smartly, and my axe was a little heavier because I did choose to get the bigger one. So I got my first orange card, and the orange cards were, these cards were, if you messed up, it said apparently I was not ready, and it zip tied to you. We had 4 of those, and after the 4th one, there was an extra penalty. I think it was 50 burpees, and you had to ask someone else for their card. So the group still had a limited number of cards, but you had to ask someone else, and they had to complete 50 burpees alongside 50 burpees alongside you. Which, trust me, after a while, after you hear what happened to this event, is a death sentence. Okay. So once the 10 people failed and got the little orange cards in their neck, it was time to start rucking into the woods with a 1,500-pound generator with a clock attached to it. And we didn't know what the clock was for, but we would have found out later. And trust me, it wasn't nice. So we had to do that, but one thing I forgot to bring, or I chose not to bring, was the bucket, because on our mandatory gear list, the first one, they said bring a bucket. On our second mandatory gear list, they said not to bring a bucket, and I was thinking, a bucket's gonna be really fucking awkward for me, and I don't wanna carry it, so I might as well take the risk. I took the risk, I ended up screwed, and I had to carry a penalty rock. And a penalty rock is exactly what it sounds like. It's a rock you carry with you as a penalty. So I had my sandbag hoisted up over my bag, because couldn't fit in my bag. I had this rock that was like 30 pounds, and I was rucking along with the people who were carrying the big generator. So about 3 miles in, and trust me, a lot of moments where I was like, oh my god, because I was carrying more than 2/3 of my body weight. I weigh 139. My pack and my sandbag together was probably about 70, along with the 30-pound rock. We're talking somewhere near 100 for a person who weighs as much as a thumbtack. So that was definitely a point where I pushed myself. And the second phase, they had us kind of drop the rocks because there was no way we were getting up there with the rocks. They had everyone put down the generator, and they had us start hiking up the Peak Blood Route Trail. And that was hard because I was still carrying 60 pounds plus of weight, as well as everyone else was carrying their insane amounts of weight with them up this mountain, and we had to do it quickly. So once we got up to the top of the mountain, it was about 8 hours into the race. The sun was rising, I think about 5:36, and we were finally getting warm because the first night was fucking cold. It did not stop. It was freezing, and it was uncomfortable. What we had to do after was we had to crawl down Peak Mountain. After we got to the top, we had to crawl down with all our stuff, our sandbags and our bags. I decided to drag the sandbag and kind of shimmy my way on down because I didn't want to my back up, obviously, because I knew that my back was going to be used for a lot more things later, and just carrying things on your back is just going to strain it, and I didn't want to do that. So once we got down the mountain, we did a bunch of little crazy activities, like we were barefoot hiking. They made us bear crawl through this pond just full of rocks. A lot of stuff where, they were putting us in water, they were making us hike a lot, they were making us do some PT, a lot of things like that for the first 24 hours of the event. After our long hike, we finally arrived at Riverside Farm. Once we got to the main farm, our main activity was to actually move 2 3,000-pound rocks without making track marks, and it was a crazy fun event. And while we were doing that, they were just picking random people out to do some intense PT. You can actually see them in the back. So even the fun events in this event were hard as all hell. After that, we did some water sandbag exercises for a little while. Right after that, we had a barbed wire crawl. We crawled on a 0.25 mile loop around once. And then right after that, we were told to head to the top, or start heading to the top of Strax Mountain. And that is another mountain near the Riverside Farm. So we started going up the mountain, did a little bit of PT, did a little bit of wood cutting exercises, and I was on a team where we basically chopped down a tree and made this makeshift bridge out of it, which was actually a lot of fun. I'm from the city, so I don't really get to do stuff like that. I had never chopped down a tree before, and it was actually just a lot of fun to just hear a tree actually fall for the first time. It was really cool. So right after that, we collected a little bit of drinking water from a stream, and then immediately headed to the top of the mountain to meet up with the other half of the group that was already cutting and trimming the top of the mountain, but I'll get into that in a sec. We got to the top of the mountain, we had to cut and trim the top of the mountain using pruning shears and using our axes to make it nice and flat terrain. There was a lot of thorny bushes there, so it was a pain in the ass. And then right after that, it was a kind of relaxing activity. None of us was training ourselves. I remember Joe DeSanta comes up, and he comes to the top of the mountain, and he's like, guys, I want you to do 3,000 burpees. You have 9 hours. And right then and there, I saw people start to leave the event in just so quickly. So we lost about 5 or 6 people in the beginning, and throughout we started losing people as the burpees got more and more. So around the 500 mark, we saw a lot of people just kind of go down, and they didn't come back. I decided to be in a slower group with slower people, and it kind of worked out for me because I was able to pace myself. And slow and steady really did win the race for that, because it wasn't really about how fast you could pop out 100 burpees. It was if you can get into a rhythm and get to 3,000 burpees without tiring yourself out. It was really hard. I mean, it took hours in the night. I had my left shoulder just contract for so long. It just hardened up and I couldn't move my arm for like a whole like 2 minutes. It was terrible. When I say I was in the weaker group, we were able to decide which group we could be in to do the burpees, and we had to keep up with them. So once my group got into the groove of things, we decided that we were going to do sets of 10, where we would do 10 burpees, we take a 2-second, 3-second rest, do another 10, and continue to do that until we got to 100. When we got to about 1,000, we started doing sets of 50 and then taking breaks. So we do sets of 10, wait a little bit until all the way up to 50, and then we'd start taking a break, and that really worked out for us. Those 3,000 burpees were honestly the executioner of so many people's race streams. Honestly, I think we lost about 20 people during the burpees, and we were all completely cooked afterwards. Our knees, shoulders, arms, and legs were fried, and we were completely exhausted. So right after the burpees, we did a little more PT. When we got down the mountain, we rolled around the mountain. We had a little fun with it. We went fly fishing, but that's something I don't really have to explain. That was just really a fun activity. And then came our next big elimination activity, 12 hours of crawling in the barbed wire. So we had to do 12 hours of crawling in the barbed wire and do loops of that. And that's where I kind of, I fell short and I started to get hurt. So what made this barbed wire crawl stand out from all the other barbed wire crawls is the rules, and they were very death racy. First off, once you started a lap, you could not stop. You could move slow, you could inch, but you could not come to a complete stop. Secondly, you can only crawl on your hands and knees. Your hands and knees have to be on the ground at all time, and that was really hard. If you didn't follow any of these rules, what would happen is, well, you get an orange tag, and if you get 4 orange tags, you're screwed. Now remember the orange card penalty I was talking about. Stack that on top of about 36 hours of no sleep and intense physical pain, and we started realizing this was the second obstacle we were starting to lose a lot of people on. 46 hours in and about 10 hours into the barbed wire crawl, my knees were locking up, my back was getting cut by the barbed wire because I couldn't arch my ass down. I was starting to be a little bit more vocal with my pain because of the amount of times I was getting cut by the barbed wire, and at the end of the day, I think medical team heard it and they thought I was a danger to myself or something like that. The medical team at one point was just like, listen, we're gonna have to pull you from the race, and I begged and pleaded, but you know, at the end, like I said, medical's decision is final. But that was the end of my race. It was the 12 hours of some of the hardest barbed wire crawls I've ever done. My knees were completely destroyed. My elbows were just torn up, and my hips were bruised. It was the hardest part of the race for me, and it did get me at the end. So what I learned from that is to suffer in silence next time, but I did make it 46 hours, and I'm proud of that accomplishment. I hope you guys enjoyed my little summary of this. There's a lot I know I have to talk about, and there's a lot I probably haven't covered because this is kind of just an overall review. When they post a little more about the race, I'll definitely have a lot more to say about it, and I might even post my training because the 2019 death race is already announced, so I'm already gonna fucking go, and I'm gonna go try to get the skull another time, so hopefully that works out. But for right now, basically, my overall experience from this was awesome. It was a great race. It was one of the best races I've ever done. There is something about the death race that is special, and it brings people together in a certain type of way that I didn't expect. It's like you do something crazy with a bunch of people, and those people you become really close to in the end of the day, because you know you have to sort of forge alliances and bond, and it's really an amazing event that changes how you look at things you have to do. I know I came out of it with a new outlook and a new understanding of what I could do physically as well as mentally, and that is something that I'm going to use for the rest of my life. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm definitely going to go back in 2019 and kick the ass of this event. I might have a more detailed video later on. I might do training videos, how I trained, what I could do better. A little later on. I hope you guys continue to watch my channel. I'm going to keep putting out these videos, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And oh my god, I was moving my hands a lot, and I just recut the hand that I cut during my race. Yeah, if you guys can see that. Wow, okay. So we're coming up on actually how I cut my hand like this, and how I'm not going to put a band-aid on this because fuck it, I'll just finish the video first.